We come from Alabama. We sell apples.
What if I told you that MASH still has secrets fans missed even after 4 decades? From a teddy bear that vanished and reappeared at auction, to a wildfire that literally rewrote the finale, this show hid more Easter eggs than you think. Today we're breaking down 50 surprising details you never noticed in MASH. Let's scrub in because the operating room of TV trivia is officially open. Radar's teddy bear wasn't part of the script, it was found on set. Radar's teddy bear was reportedly discovered on the outdoor ranch set and added because it fit the character. It later became a treasured prop and even reappeared in auctions decades after filming, where it was sold for more than $11,000. Wildfire woven into the finale. Just before filming the finale, a wildfire tore through the Malibu Creek State Park set and destroyed much of it. Instead of rebuilding, the writers incorporated the fire into Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, making the destruction part of the story. Time references hidden in OR. In the episode OR, the camp's PA system announces General Douglas MacArthur's ticker tape parade in New York, which historically happened on April 20, 1951. That tiny detail places the events of that episode firmly in time of the actual Korean War. Colonel Blake's death was secret to the cast. The producers kept the fate of Henry Blake, played by McLean Stevenson, under wraps. Only Alan Alda knew ahead of time that Blake would die in the 3rd season finale, Abyssinia Henry. The rest of the cast didn't learn the ending until shortly before filming. Because of that, their reactions on screen seem so real. Characters based on real people. MASH began as the 1968 novel MASH, a novel about 3 army doctors by Richard Hooker, which drew on his own Korean War experiences. Some characters, especially the nurses, were inspired by real people Hooker had encountered in mobile army surgical hospitals. The novel was adapted into Robert Altman's 1970 film before finally becoming the legendary TV series. Klinger was originally planned to be gay. The character of Maxwell Klinger was initially scripted as a gay man and meant to appear in just 1 episode, but that concept was changed. Instead, he cross-dressed as a scheme to get discharged from the army, and the character stayed, becoming a regular and a fan favorite. Original casting switcheroo. McLean Stevenson originally auditioned for Hawkeye, but the creators quickly realized his charm and presence were a better fit for Henry Blake. That switch opened the door for Alan Alda to take on Hawkeye, a decision that shaped the show's tone and humor for all 11 seasons. The time capsule. In the penultimate episode, the 4077th buries a time capsule filled with mementos. The cast did the same in real life, hiding a capsule on the set grounds at Malibu Creek. But just months later, the land was sold, and a construction worker dug it up by accident. He contacted Alan Alda, who told him to keep it, making the capsule a short-lived secret. Laugh tracks quietly disappeared over time. Though the network insisted on using a laugh track, producers lobbied for it to be omitted in certain serious scenes, especially in the operating room, and gradually the show used it less over time. Guest stars with big names. MASH featured many surprise guest stars. Patrick Swayze once played a soldier with leukemia. Ron Howard appeared as an underage Marine among others, and Leslie Nielsen made an appearance as well. The finale wasn't the last shot filmed. Although Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen is the final episode, it was not the last one filmed. The episode As Time Goes By, with the time capsule burying plot, was filmed after the finale. The show outlasted the Korean War. MASH ran for 11 seasons from 1972 to 1983, far longer than the Korean War itself, which lasted just about 3 years from 1950 to 1953. This ironic stretch meant viewers spent more time with Hawkeye, Radar, and the 4077th than the actual soldiers did in Korea, highlighting the show's popularity and enduring cultural impact. Alan Alda and Jamie Farr's military service. During the Korean War era, both Alan Alda and Jamie Farr had connections to the military. Farr actually enlisted, serving in Japan and doing USO tours in Korea. While Alda had military experience in the US, their real-life service added authenticity to their performances, giving the 4077th characters a subtle, lived-in credibility. A comedian was considered as Trapper John. Before Wayne Rogers was cast, producers wanted comedian Robert Klein to play Trapper John. Klein turned the role down, clearing the way for Rogers to bring his sharp wit and chemistry with Alan Alda to the screen. It's hard to to imagine the 4077th without that duo's banter. Pilot written in just 2 days. The pilot of MASH was famously written by Larry Gelbart in just 2 days, earning roughly $25,000 for his work. Despite the rushed timeline, the script set the tone for the series' sharp humor and poignant storytelling, proving that brilliance can sometimes come under extreme pressure. Hawkeye's jacket was Alan Alda's own.
You want anything from me before I go? I'm yours.
The worn jacket Hawkeye often wore wasn't a costume piece from the wardrobe department. It was actually Alan Alda's personal jacket, which he wore throughout much of the series. The last word of the series. The final word ever spoken on MASH is a simple yet powerful goodbye, said by BJ to Hawkeye in the series finale. That single word perfectly encapsulates 11 years of camaraderie, humor, and heartbreak, leaving viewers with a bittersweet farewell that still resonates decades later. Jamie Farr's real hometown pride. Klinger frequently mentions being from Toledo, Ohio, and that wasn't just for laughs. Jamie Farr, the actor behind Klinger, was actually born and raised there. Writers added the hometown nod as a subtle tribute, giving the character a personal touch that fans might not notice at first glance. No more tragic send-offs. After Henry Blake's shocking death caused a viewer uproar, producers agreed never to kill off another main character so brutally. Any later character exits were handled more gently, avoiding the trauma caused by Blake's departure. CBS rejected an unpatriotic plot. One early script had soldiers faking illness to get sent home, a tactic that actually happened during the Korean War. CBS executives, worried it seemed unpatriotic, blocked the episode. Reality, it turned out, wasn't always what network television was ready to show. Alda's writing and directing contributions. Alan Alda co-wrote 13 episodes and directed 31, including the record-breaking finale. He became the only cast member to appear in every episode of the series, while also shaping its tone behind the camera. His influence on and off screen helped push MASH from a simple sitcom into the thoughtful, character-driven dramedy it's remembered as today. Wayne Rogers never signed a contract. Rogers, who played Trapper John, left quite suddenly after season 3. Part of the situation was that he never signed certain formal contracts, including a morals clause he objected to. That looseness gave him freedom to leave without strings attached. Adam's Ribs without Frank and Margaret. The fan-favorite episode Adam's Ribs is unique because neither Major Frank Burns nor Major Margaret Houlihan appear at all. Their absence lets the story focus entirely on Hawkeye, Trapper, and the mess tent crew, giving viewers a fresh perspective on camp life. It's one of the rare episodes where the usual dynamics are completely shifted, making it a standout in season 3. Radar's teddy bear had a name. Radar's teddy bear first appears in the episode I Hate a Mystery, and he even gave it a name. The stuffed teddy was known as Tiger on set. The bear became one of the most recognizable props on the show, symbolizing Radar's childlike innocence in contrast to the horrors of war. The record-breaking series finale.
Whenever I see a big pair of feet or cheesy mustache, I'll think of you.
The finale, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, pulled in an astonishing 121.6 million viewers on February 28, 1983, which was more than the Super Bowl that year. It held the crown as the most-watched television event in US history for decades, proving just how deeply MASH had become woven into American culture. 3 spin-offs with mixed success. After the series ended, CBS tried to extend the MASH universe with 3 spin-offs: Trapper John, MD, After MASH, and Walter. Of the 3, only Trapper John, MD, set decades later with a different cast, found real staying power and lasted 7 seasons. The others fizzled quickly, proving that while the 4077th was beloved, lightning didn't strike twice. The original author didn't love the TV version. The author of the original novel, Dr. Richard Hornberger, pen name Richard Hooker, reportedly disliked how the TV series handled material, saying it trampled on his memories, even as he accepted the royalties. Script complaints lead to a heat parade. Writers were tired of cast member complaints about the weather in scripts. On very hot days, actors were asked to pretend it was parka weather on the set, and after that, they got fewer complaints. Disappearing bear prop, Radar's stuffed teddy bear, a quiet symbol of his innocence, mysteriously disappeared from the show after the early seasons. It wasn't seen again for decades until 2005 when it resurfaced at an auction. Fittingly, Gary Berghoff, who played Radar, bought it back to later auction it again. Relics of the set. The show's iconic tents and camp exteriors were filmed at Malibu Creek State Park, just outside Los Angeles. After production wrapped, most of the set was dismantled, but a few foundations, roads, and even a rusted ambulance were left behind. Today, visitors to the park can still hike to the site, a quiet reminder of the 4077th's legacy. The cast felt it was time to end the series. By season 11, the cast agreed that MASH had run its course. They felt their characters had been fully explored, and stretching further might weaken the show's legacy. Rather than risk decline, the team voted together to end it on a high note, a rare example of a hit series choosing to end the show on its own terms. Early low ratings and network pressure. When MASH first aired in 1972, it struggled in the ratings and nearly got canceled after season 1. CBS executives grew anxious, pressuring the team to adjust pacing, soften some plots, and lean into safer humor to appeal to wider audiences. The gamble worked. By season 2, word of mouth and sharper writing turned it into a breakout hit. Plotlines from real Korean War events. The writers often borrowed directly from reality, pulling stories from doctors and nurses who had actually served in mobile army surgical hospitals. Episodes about supply shortages, endless hours in the OR, even the dark humor came straight from their accounts. This grounding in real experiences gave MASH its unique mix of authenticity and humanity. Hawkeye's character was designed to be untypical. Producers deliberately avoided the classic square-jawed soldier archetype when creating Hawkeye Pierce. They wanted someone irreverent, quick-witted, even flamboyant and pretty. A doctor who fought with humor instead of weapons. Alan Alda fit that vision so perfectly that he was cast without even auditioning.
Does every new nurse fall in love with you here?
No, only the ones with taste.
Do you think I have any?
No, let me taste you.
Flirtation scenes toned down over time. In the first seasons, Hawkeye was written as a heavy flirt, often chasing nurses in broad comedic scenes. But as the show matured, writers shifted his character, toning down the antics, moving suggestive moments off screen, and focusing more on his wit, ethics, and humanity. This evolution made him a richer, more complex lead instead of a one-note womanizer. Executive input and censorship. Network executives often stepped in during the early seasons, nervous about how much blood or grit audiences could handle in a comedy. They ordered cuts to certain language, toned down violent images, and even softened medical realism at times. But as MASH grew into a hit, the writers pushed back harder, winning more freedom to tell the stories the way they wanted. Many stories were rejected for similarity. The writers actively sought out real stories from Korean War veterans to keep the show authentic. But some submissions were so close to plots they had already filmed that they had to be turned down. It was proof of how often truth and fiction overlapped in MASH, since the war itself had already written many of the same stories. The opening helicopter shot was recycled. The famous opening sequence with helicopters bringing in wounded soldiers was used for every season. It was a single shot, reused for all 11 years, making it one of the most recognizable recycled clips in TV history. MASH's theme music adaptation. The series' theme is an instrumental take on Suicide is Painless, first written for the 1970 film. For TV, it was rearranged into different versions. The opening carried a slower, somber tone, while the ending used a lighter big band style. This subtle shift set the mood at both ends of each episode, balancing comedy and tragedy in just a few bars of music. Alan Alda insisted on hand-washing scenes. Alda pushed for authentic little details in the operating room. One unusual request was that surgeons should be shown actually scrubbing their hands and wearing surgical masks properly, details often skipped on other medical scenes in shows at the time. Major cast changes over time. Several major characters were replaced throughout the series. Wayne Rogers was replaced by Mike Farrell as BJ, McLean Stevenson by Harry Morgan as Potter, and Larry Linville by David Ogden Stiers as Winchester. Radar's salute. Radar O'Reilly is the only enlisted man on the show who regularly salutes officers. In real military protocol, enlisted soldiers usually only salute in formal situations, not casually. This was kept to emphasize Radar's respectfulness and innocence. The show addressed real-time issues. Though set in the Korean War, MASH often reflected on the issues of the 1970s and early 80s. Storylines touched on themes like the Vietnam War, military red tape, and the moral cost of combat, showing that the series was as much about its own time as it was about history. An anachronistic helicopter model hung in Henry's office. There's a tiny but telling prop Easter egg, a model of a Bell UH-1, which didn't exist until the late 1950s, was hung in Henry Blake's office. Larry Gelbart later said his His son built it, and it stayed until someone noticed the anachronism. Hot Lips' long run with few missed episodes.
Negative. He'd take this bum by the neck and he'd deck him.
Loretta Swit, who played Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, was one of the longest running cast members. She appeared in all 11 seasons, though she missed some episodes here and there. Section 8 references hidden meanings. The show uses terms like Section 8, which means military discharge for mental instability, in jokes and dialogue, reflecting real military slang. Some viewers may miss how often military bureaucracy shows up subtly. The operating room scenes originally showed no blood at all. In the first episodes, blood is clearly missing in the operating room. Executives were very cautious with showing graphic content on screen, but as MASH evolved, its operating room scenes grew increasingly authentic. Viewers saw more blood, emotional fallout, and the psychological cost of treating endless casualties, a shift that elevated the show from sitcom to powerful wartime drama. They ran out of character names. The many wounded soldiers that passed through the camp over the course of 11 seasons caused a practical problem. They ran out of names. First, they started borrowing names from the Los Angeles Dodgers baseball roster. When they'd used all of those as well, they started throwing in names of friends, family members, and even some ex-girlfriends. The show's legacy in syndication and streaming. Even after the final episode aired in 1983, MASH never really left the screen. It became a staple of TV syndication, later arrived on DVD, and now streams to new generations worldwide. Its timeless mix of humor and humanity keeps attracting fresh fans, proving the 4077th story is still very much alive. Emmy success and critical acclaim. Over its 11-year run, MASH earned more than 100 Emmy nominations and took home 14 wins, including Outstanding Comedy Series. Beyond the trophies, it cemented its place in television history, ranked alongside the greatest shows ever written, a legacy that still resonates decades later. And that's 50 surprising details you probably missed in MASH. If you learned something new, make sure to like this video, drop your favorite fact in the comments, and subscribe for more hidden TV gems.